Hey everyone, I am Robin the Copy Bitch. This is Stewie, my sidekick sloth. Today we are talking about freelance copywriter rates. And the reason why is because I've been getting lots of questions, lots of traction on this channel, which is nice to see. We like that, don't we? And people keep asking about, I want to do this copywriting thing, but how do I set my rates? What do I charge? I know it can be extremely overwhelming, so I want to kind of demystify the process because I get it. You are just starting out and you want to be fair, but you also kind of, want to be able to keep yourself in beer and Skittles, or wine and Skittles, or, milkshakes and Skittles, whatever it is that you like. Oh yeah, milkshakes, we like that. So let's talk about freelance copywriter rates. Now, I have another video about what to charge for copywriting services. I'm going to link to that below. I'm also going to link to this great resource that I found when emailing one of you guys about this question. And it is from the American Writers and Artists Institute, AWAI. I'm looking at my computer over there. I'm actually familiar with this organization, so I'm not surprised that they have this great resource, but it is AWAI's 2023 copywriting pricing guide. And what I like about this resource is I think they keep it updated. So I will link to it below. I'm recording this video in 2023, but if you're watching this, a year from now or 2 years from now, I think the link will probably bring you to an updated version because how I got to this website was on a 2020 link. So that leads me to believe that they keep this pretty updated, which is nice. And I looked through it. It's a big guide. So you'll want to go to page, the middle of it, like page 36. That's where it is, at least on the 2023 version. And they start to go into the rates, and it's fair. I definitely fall in most of their ranges. So I think it's actually a very accurate rate guide. Now they're, obviously prices on the lower end, prices on the higher end. And this is for people who are working as copywriters. So I realize that you might feel a little overwhelmed if you're new to the game to be charging some of these, prices first out of the gate. I get that. So here's what I want you to think about when you're setting your rates for the first time. First of all, a little reminder. I definitely recommend you quote project rates rather than hourly rates. And here's why. First of all, hourly rates can get out of hand really quickly, and you shouldn't get penalized for being fast. When you first start out, it's probably going to take you a while to get some stuff done, but you're going to get better and you're going to get faster and you're still delivering the great value. So for example, if you're working on a 1,000 word blog post and in the beginning it takes you 4 hours to write it, start to finish, but then you get really, really good and you can reduce that time to 2 hours. Should you make less money? No, because you're delivering the same value. But if you're using an hourly rate, that's what'll happen. The other thing with hourly rates too is sometimes psychologically we write to the hour. If we're like, oh, this will take me 3 hours, we drag it out and maybe it'll just take us 30 minutes or an hour. And the other thing is clients don't like hourly rates either because they get in their head oh, it's going to take you 2 hours to do that. Can it take you 1? They don't get it. And again, it's because you're delivering value. You're not delivering something it's not about the hourly rate. You're not a law firm. That's not how you should bill. Bill project quotes. I highly recommend that with very few exceptions, and just get into your head. That said, I know you need to start somewhere and you do need to know the value of an hour to you. So when you're thinking about your rates, it makes sense in the background, behind the scenes, to think, okay, what would you like to be making per hour? Is it $45? Is it $50? Is it $100? Is it $200? Right out of the gate, it might be a stretch for you to be thinking in terms of $200 an hour, but it's not unusual once you get your writing chops and your writing legs or whatever sort of, weird metaphor I want to use to describe, writing expertise. Once you start developing that and you develop a reputation, you can charge some of those bigger rates. But for now, probably if you're starting out, if you're based in the US, again, I'm US based, I can't speak to other markets, it'll be different in other countries, but at least here, I would say if you fall somewhere in the 50 to 75 to 85 to maybe $100 an hour in your head, because you're not charging hourly rates, but in your head, that's how you know what an hour of your time is worth. Okay, so start there. Figure out what that hourly rate is. And you know what? In the beginning, you might be like, I really want to charge 100, but I just feel like I just can't do that, so I'm going to go with 50. That's fine. That's okay. You can change this. You're not locked into this rate for the rest of your copywriting life. You need to start somewhere. So start with something that you can confidently sell, and then do the project, and then have a postmortem with yourself after the project is done and be like, okay, did that actually work out well? Did I make a good, hourly rate? Did it feel like I delivered the value and the client was happy and I'm happy with what I made? And if the answer is yes, okay, you're on the right track. And if the answer is no, that's okay. It happens. It still happens to me. Like, there'll be times I'll be like, I should have charged more. I should have charged more. And I usually know that deep down inside, because something about the project or the client is like, you know what, I should have a little bit of a, extra pain in the ass fee added into it, because I know this is probably going to take a little bit longer. Or, maybe I'm just thinking, sometimes I just, don't have the confidence in myself. Even after, 20 plus years, it happens. Okay, so you have your number. You're not going to do an hourly rate, but you have that number in the back of your head. What you need to do now is you get the project from the client, and this is when things can go sideways. Make sure you know all the details about the actual project. And I'll often have several back and forth sessions via email, or I'll get on the phone with the client and ask all my questions about everything about this project. So it's easy for the client to think like, I need a newsletter where you call someone and you interview and you write up this article. Call one of my clients and you interview and write it up. It sounds very simple, but how many words, will the article be, or do you want the article to be? Will they be setting up the intro and setting up the time to chase down the client, or will you have to do that? How many rounds of revisions are you offering? Those are all the things that you have to think about. And each project is going to be a little bit different. With a website project, you're going to want to know, has the keyword research already been done? Is there a sitemap? Are you just, working from a sitemap with the keyword phrase focus for each page and you're on your way? Or are you going to be doing the keyword phrase research? Does the client need an education on SEO? So everything is going to be a little bit different, but you need to get as many of those details as possible upfront before you can provide a quote. Otherwise, your quote won't be right, whether it's an hourly rate or a project rate, because you don't have all the details. And that's when things can go off the rail. And that's when you can get really resentful as a copywriter, because you realize, oh, this is so much more involved than I said, but I, gave them this quote. And okay. So make sure you get all the details. And then once you have the project and what's going to be involved, that's when you have to ask yourself reasonably, like, how long do I think this is going to take me? Now, you will get to a point where you're just going to know, like, a blog post typically takes you this long, and you might just have like a going rate for a 1,000 word blog post. That's what I do. Like, I just know because I've been doing this for so long. But in the beginning, it's going to take you a little bit longer to figure that out. Now, you have to keep in mind that for those first projects you do, you're probably going to be spending extra time doing the work because you're so worried and so excited and you want to make sure it's perfect and you get it right. You're going to want to do that, of course, with all the work that you do, but you'll be spending more time. So you need to kind of consider that and not necessarily charge for that. But let's say you have, a 1,000 word blog post on a topic where you have to interview one person and you do some research, but the keyword is provided to you. Like, ask yourself, like, how long is this going to take? How long do you know the topic? Do you think this is going to be fairly straightforward? maybe 3 to 4 hours, which is probably fair. Or maybe you need a little bit more. Maybe you're really confident, that you can do it and you need a little bit less. Figure out what the number is, multiply it by that hourly rate that you have in your head, and then look at that and feel like, do you feel like that's fair for the value that you're delivering? Like, maybe you have agreed that in the back of your mind that your hourly rate is going to be $50 an hour or $60 an hour. And you think, okay, it'll probably take me 3 hours to write the blog post. And, at $60 an hour, that's what, $180, right? That is very, very low for the value that you're delivering. It's the starting point of how long it's going to take you, but it's the value you're delivering is much more. So that's how you have to think. So maybe you bump that up to $300 because, that's where you are in life. Like, maybe you don't feel confident going to 500, but like 300 feels fair. And that's what you do for the first series of blog posts that you do for several clients. And then you readjust. You look at what you're making and you look at the value, you look at how fast you are, and then you figure it out from there. You're not locked into these rates at the beginning. You just need a starting point. You need to lay a stake in the ground. So again, project rate, think about how much you want to make an hour, get all the details from the client about the project in hand, And then that's how you develop your rates. And over time, it's going to become second nature. Like you're going to know, okay, 1,000-word blog posts, 1 interview, keyword phrase already in hand, I charge this amount. If I have to do keyword phrase research, I'll charge this amount. If it's 2 interviews, I charge this amount. And you will develop what's called a rate sheet. And you will have that, and whether you share it with a client or not is up to you, but just internally you can have this rate sheet so you know what you charge. For a website page, you charge this. For a landing page, you charge this. For the home page, you charge this. You will get a feel for that over time. But in the beginning, you have to start somewhere. So just figure out, what do you want to make an hour? What do you remember the value that you're delivering to the client. How long is something going to take you? Always conduct a little internal post-mortem after you finish a project and ask yourself, okay, was that reasonable? Did I, nail that quote, or was I way off in either direction? And then adjust for the next client. Or if you're doing regular work for the same client, you can always have that conversation with them. In fact, that's another thing I would recommend. If you are working with a client, you're doing regular work, and like maybe they're having you quote on doing like monthly blog posts and monthly emails and monthly social media posts. When you're first starting out, I would say quote a quarter. So quote 3 months worth of work. And in your quote, because you're going to want to put this in writing, you'll want to add some sort of, not a disclaimer, but a notice that says, after 3 months, you and I will, connect and see what's working, what isn't, if we have to adjust anything. And that's where you could actually make an adjustment if you have to. If you don't feel comfortable doing it at that time, you could do it the following year. Like, it's not unusual for companies to have a rate increase, every now and then, year to year, because hello, inflation. Anyhow, make sure you check out the links below, because I will include a link to that great rate sheet that I found. You can check it out, and that's a great guide. I think most copywriters that I know probably fall in those ranges. There are always going to be people on the high end and people on the lower end. You can always find that, but I think for the average copywriter like me, probably somewhere in that range, and that could be something you can aspire to, or if you feel really confident in your skills, you can do that out of the gate. I'll also include some other links to some of my videos that I feel might be helpful, because I do have one that talks further about charging for copywriting services. So I'll include that link as well. And we are so happy that you're here and going on this copywriting journey, and we want to cheer you on. I am Robin the Copy Bitch, so you can ask me a question anytime. This is Stewie, my sidekick sloth. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, because that helps us out. Subscribe to my channel, and we will see you next time.